Going live. We'll do it live. We'll do it live.
Wait.
Do I have sound?
Okay, now live.
All right. We are live, Little Joan. We are live. Hi, everybody. I love this headline. So, just going to hang out a couple of minutes, let people get in here. Started a little early. Oh, man. I am beat. I don't know why. I think I got bad sleep. If you ever get bad sleep. Oh, hate that. You sleep and then you wake up and you're like, I need to go to bed. After that night's sleep, I think I need a good night's sleep. But anyhow, what's going on? I did River City Comics and Montclair Brewery last night. It's a bit of a drive. Man, 2.5 hours it turned into. Got caught in traffic. It was kind of a nightmare. But the people were nice. Along my travels, I met an author who sounds like his book is about it's high fantasy, but it's got like a communist metaphor, which I thought was bizarre. But I didn't want to get into politics up north. As a bad scene for me to get into politics in the middle of one of my signings, that would probably go poorly for me. Kind of put the kibosh on book sales, if you know what I mean. Speaking of which, Jeremy over at the Quartering, I don't know if you heard about this, the Scottish land titles that a lot of YouTubers were pimping for a while. It turns out they're not legit. So I bought one on off of Jeremy's site because it was Christmas and I wanted to support Jeremy and I needed gifts anyway. And I thought, oh, this will be kind of a fun gift. And the idea was you bought a 1 foot square plot of land somewhere in Scotland and they plant a tree for you and you could call yourself a lord and lady. Like, technically. And I think Paul Joseph Watson had that as a sponsor too. I haven't heard him say anything about it yet, I don't think. Anyhow, I bought one. And then I wrote Jeremy. Jeremy, he was apologizing. Obviously, I didn't blame him because I've done sponsors too, not on my YouTube channel, although I will. If I ever get an offer, but it just shows you gotta be careful who you sponsor. You never know, and it sounded perfectly reasonable. Like, why wouldn't you know? Like, one time I got an offer from a site. This was a long time ago, and they wanted to put a link up to this site. It had some gambling on it, which I assume was legal, but I wasn't totally sure. I did a little digging, and it seemed to be legal to me, but I have a very limited knowledge of the law in New Jersey. But I put a link, and I got some money, and that was fine. And it's like it was on the Superfat site somewhere, and like who the hell could find that link? It's buried in the insane amount of posts I had on Superfat. But then down the road, I got offered to promote Guardians of the Galaxy, which I did. I didn't have a problem with that. I thought the movie looked good. And then I got another offer one time, but it was definitely a gambling site, but it felt really sketchy. Like, I don't know what's going on here. They also didn't want me to tell them it was an advertisement. Like, that's the new thing. Like, they want you to put a post on your blog and not tell them it's an ad, like, which doesn't make sense to me, especially for like bloggers and vloggers. Like, you would think you'd want that sort of endorsement from the creator, because that gives you some amount of, you're borrowing the creator's credibility, which can backfire on you too. You got a creator like, well, let's say Ethan Klein, and he goes cuckoo bananas. It could go very poorly. So, just making sure no one's in the stream yet, which is weird. Oh, there's JEC. Hey, ha. Good. Someone's here, so I know it's working. So yeah, I mean, I don't blame Jeremy for the whole Scottish land thing. I bought it, but I bought it for my brother and my sister-in-law. It's just kind of a fun gift. I don't know what to buy them. I don't have a lot of money, so I can't buy anything really all that great. But I can buy fun things. And that was kind of a fun joint thing. It's hard to buy for a couple, right? I mean, like, for a couple, that's hard. But for them, it was perfect. JEC, I made coffee. Good for you. I got my iced tea. You could do the simultaneous sip and like Scott Adams. So if you like coffee, go buy Jeremy's coffee. People seem to like that. I don't drink coffee, so. But anyhow, so I bought the thing off of Jeremy's site, and I wrote him. I'm not mad really about the whole thing, but I now have to. It's just a matter of time before my brother figures out or hears online that it was a scam, and I give it another week before it leaks out into regular media, and then he's gonna bust my stones badly for being ripped off. Or for me being ripped off, not him, because it was a gift. And then I told Jeremy that and said, if you want to make it up to me, pimp my book. So he put it in his Twitter feed, which was nice. So I got a little bit of a push there for the Pineys. JC, I watched the video. It sounds like it's a dumb joke gift that has run a larger company that are involved in actual scams. Yeah, I guess. I mean, I thought it was kind of a cool gift. I mean, when I first heard about it, I thought, oh, that's weird. But then I thought, the Scots seem to be screwing up their country pretty good. And I felt, well, that sounds like something a country that's fallen apart would do just to, make some money. So maybe I figured maybe it was legit, because I figured the Scots didn't care. They seemed to be going full-blown communist over there. Why not sell off lords and ladies like it was made of nothing and just sell off little plots of land? Sounds like it would be a moneymaker. I mean, it was very popular. A lot of YouTubers were sponsored by them. And I think it's a good idea. I mean, it's a shame. It's a shame that it turned out to be a scam. And the fact that Paul Joseph Watson was Jeremy's an American like me, so he didn't know. He didn't live in Europe. So I can't hardly fault him. But Paul Joseph Watson, he lives in the UK. Scotland's not that far from him. He can drive to Scotland. So one would assume he'd know, if it was even legal to sell little plots of land and then call somebody a lord or lady. Initially, I guess, wasn't it only kings that could say that? You are a lord. Even though you might own land, but maybe the rules are different in Scotland. See, this is what I don't know. Although I follow some of that, but I don't know. It was a fun thing. JC, my theory is the Shell company bought some land in Scotland and they came up with this gimmick to get the land to pay for itself. Yeah, it's a good gimmick. I don't think it's a scam if you can actually, if there was even the tiniest little bit of, I didn't expect it to be, I didn't expect my brother to be able to go to Scotland and get treated like a royalty. I expected him to be able to maybe drive by the land and see a sign that said, "Oh yeah, your plot is here," and that would be fun. And then maybe there'd be a whole bunch of trees all jam packed together because apparently you only get 1 square foot. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think maybe it was meant to be legit, but they didn't actually. The company itself didn't actually, do the proper vetting, and they just said, "Oh, we'll just call everybody lords and lairds who buy our land." The interesting thing is, like, I wonder if you could sue them to actually get the deed to your tiny plot of land. JC, they're selling you a square foot of the land they own, right? But is that even legit in itself, right? Like if you bought, I don't know, 20 squares. Let's say you had like a whole family and you wanted to make everybody a lord or lady, and you just blew, I don't know, what would that cost? $600, something like that. I think they were like $30 a piece, or 50 or 60. I don't know. Say you blow like, I don't know, $2,000 on little plots of land. Would you actually be able to go there and say, "Hey, I want to build a shed"? Black Queen is here. Yo, what's up? We're talking about that Scottish land thing. I bought a little plot for my brother and my sister-in-law, so they call themselves a lord or lady. I think I'm going to tell him the next time he pretends he's a lord, which he sometimes likes to do, because sometimes we play these like board games in my family where like we're really big on terraforming Mars. We were into that for like 2 years solid, and so we would say whoever won was the king of Mars. And then there were other ones where you get to be a lord or lady. So maybe I'll just wait for him to remember that I bought him that gift, and then I'll explain to him, "Oh, it turned out that was a scam, so you're not really a lord, sorry." Because that'll be a way to do it. He can still bust my stones, but yeah, he doesn't get to be a lord. So it kind of works out in the end. JC, nah, you don't actually own anything. They're just mailing you a piece of paper saying you do and calling you a lord, but it's just a meaningless gimmick. Oh, man. But I wonder if you could sue and get that little plot of land. I wonder if the Scottish government, courts would like say, "Oh, well, they said it." So some Scottish, maybe it'd be some obscure Scottish law they could dig up. But I mean, I got my money's worth. Jeremy promoted the Pineys, so that was nice. I sold some books today. I don't know if it was from that. And then a couple of the Lotus Eaters were in the comment section, so they were saying nice things about me. So thank you to the people who did that, if any of you are out there. But now it's time to get into what's important. Hollywood and their terrible, terrible movies and the horrible people who live there. And one of the most hilarious self-owners is Alyssa Milano. JC, it probably says in the fine print that they're ripping you off. Maybe. It was kind of hard to read their litter certificate there. And typically that's what they would do. You are not a real lord and lady. But oh well. But Alyssa Milano, if you think she owned herself with this picture, which I find the most hilarious ever, because she crocheted herself a face mask, thinking somehow this would be a good... I don't know what she was thinking on this picture. God, like, okay, so now the face mask is a fashion statement. It's not. You're really... I mean, there are holes, like visible holes in this thing that can't possibly be doing anything for you other than making your face hot. But anyhow, what happened was, if you haven't heard, Alyssa, she was on Charmed. She was in The Lost Boys. She got them crazy eyes, say JEC. Yeah, she kind of does. She's probably really hot in the sack then. That is a rule. The crazy to hotness scale. I can confirm that is a rule. I mean, I dated a girl who was super hot and super crazy, and she was just all kinds of fun in bed. Outside of bed, it was a nightmare. But man, it was a roller coaster in the sack. Let me tell you, fun times, fun times for me, but not for my friends who had to endure her company. So maybe she's one of those girls. I mean, she's pretty cute. I wouldn't kick her out of bed for eating crackers, as they say. She's married though. She's married to some rich dude. So she decided to announce, stupidly, that she was getting rid of her Tesla in favor of a Volkswagen, which I assume is electric because she can't go back to non-electric because then the climate people would yell at her. So she wrote, I gave back my Tesla. I bought the VW EV. Oh yeah, it is an EV. I love it. I'm not sure how advertisers can buy space on Twitter, she continued. Publicly traded companies' products being pushed in alignment with hate and white supremacy doesn't seem to be a winning business model. But of course, everyone pointed out, Volkswagen was literally founded, I can't say it, by the bad guys from Germany and their leader, which it says right here, History.com notes that yes, notorious bad guy from Germany, an actual avowed bad guy from Germany, you know his name, was responsible for the Volkswagen's founding. The car manufacturing company was founded in 1937 by the German government, then under the bad guy from Germany's control, with the intention of being the People's Car Company. It was operated by the bad guys from Germany. So she would have been fine if she had just come out and said, you know what, I don't want to support Elon Musk. I bought a different car, even if she didn't announce what kind it was. You know, maybe she could have saved some face just not announcing it, or she just could have done, I don't know, 10 seconds of Googling and said, oh, better not go with a VW, even though I'm going to assume that's what is that, the second best EV? I bet it's the second best one, right? I've heard good things about the Volkswagen cars. I always wanted to get a Beetle because, everybody likes, for some reason, everybody liked those back in the 60s, and you think they would remember where the company was founded. JEC, I'm sure BMW appreciated her reminding everyone that their company was founded by literally the bad guy from Germany. I won't say it. I won't say it, YouTube. You're not going to flag me today. I'm ready. I've had some amount of sleep. It was not good sleep, but some amount. Yeah, I know. It's like, what is she going to do next? Say, I'm not going to wear any Kanye West clothes. I'm going to start wearing Hugo Boss stuff. Yeah. Yeah, Hugo Boss. Those threads are fly. Hugo Boss made the uniforms, by the way, if you didn't know. Black Queen. Just say, yeah, I don't even want to say his first name because YouTube's weird. YouTube is still like Twitter used to be. Flaming Donut is here. Hi, Tony. I know you from Lotus Eaters. Glad I found this. Hi. Welcome to the live stream. Hollywoke Hot Take Live, I call it. And Jones back there asleep. Black Queen says, or that guy. Black Queen says, or AH. I could probably say AH. Probably get away with that. JC, LOL. I was typing the name Hugo Boss joke just as you beat it to me. Yes, Hugo Boss. It's so weird. It's so weird they're still in business, right? Like, you would have thought, yeah, they would just quietly go out of business and start a new company. I mean, they changed their names, right? I don't think they were called that then. Maybe they were called something else. I don't think Volkswagen was called that. I mean, I guess they've sort of changed their name to VW. Somebody did something really interesting. They took a VW commercial, and I don't think this was really in the commercial, but I think they did this for the video. But JEC, call him Evil Charlie Chaplin. Oh, I like that. So there's a commercial where the Volkswagen logo spins like it's a wheel of a car, and so somebody took it and then made it. I guess they changed up the VW logo so when you know how you can spin something and it looks like something else. Well, it looked like the symbol for the bad guys from Germany while it was spinning, and so the bit was. The YouTuber was like saying, "Oh, there's Volkswagen," and then it spun, and he went, "Hey, Carter Jane is here. I was just telling my friend about how many American companies were in bed with the 1930 German. Yeah, quite a few of them, and then it's hard to parse too. It's like, you know, Coca-Cola was there, but you wonder like they were there because they were everywhere, but like they were, you know, it's just soda, right? Like, but they did have signs with that symbol on it. I think someone somewhere on the internet posted one. But then again, it was on the internet. How legit is it? Probably, I'm guessing, but because Coke is old enough. I wonder if Oreos had a special cookie. You know, I just found out today. Which blew my mind. Hydrox is older than Oreos. Horrible Hydrox is older than Oreos. Flaming Donut. Oh wait, I skipped one. Black Queen. So that AH created a Tesla? Well, no. No, he didn't create one. Flaming Donut. Wasn't there some link with the soft drink Fanta? Well, maybe it was a Fanta ad I saw. I saw some ad for soda that I recognized with those symbols. Black Queen, Germans are the smartest scientists during the 30s. Well, you know, I think it's just, I mean, they did have quite a few scientists. But, I mean, we had scientists. I think with the Germans, there's something in their culture that makes them, they like to be very efficient, you know? So maybe it's that. The Japanese are that way too. I mean, they're very efficient. Like, you know, after the big tsunami, the Japanese were out there. They were fixing roads and doing stuff, and like within a few days, like certain villages and roads, they were rocking it. I mean, because they were just willing to do a ridiculous amount of work for free just to get out there and do it. So you got to admire that kind of amazing work ethic and dedication. But, you know, the Germans did have a ton of scientists, but I watched a few documentaries on the subject. Like, my favorite one is the one on the jet, because the Germans basically invented the jet engine that could run circles around most other planes at the time. But the scientists and engineers in the program were not fans of the leader, AH, and so they sabotaged the program from within and kept it, you know, they always, I mean, it was a new technology anyway, so the jets were very temperamental and they ran at high speeds and they were still figuring things out, but they tried to keep the jets kind of grounded. Black Queen, I watch documentaries about history, mainly World War II. Yeah, there's a ton of them that used to be on the History Channel. Some of them are really good. My favorite one is called High. Well, I can't say it. Bad guy from Germany's last name. Like High, High, and it's all about interviews or a documentary about his doctor and all the drugs he was taking. It's really interesting because it goes through, you know, the potential various ailments he was suffering from and how messed up he was towards the end of the war, and they were like injecting him full of amphetamines and stuff just to keep him going. JC, that was their story after the war anyway. Wink, wink. Yeah. That's true too. There's a great joke in Archer, if you've ever watched that show. Great show, by the way. You know, it's Mrs. Archer, who was a spy back in World War II, talks about how the Americans were snatching up every German scientist they could get their hands on, and if any of the if you went to NASA and mentioned the bad guy from Germany, a bunch of them would stand up and snap to attention because there were so many of them in the NASA program, which was true because, the Germans had rockets, the V2 rocket and whatnot. Man, we're going deep into the World War II stuff today. Black Queen, German super soldiers were in World War II were on meth. Yeah, they made a joke about that in Archer too, because then they did an episode that took place like in the World War II era, and so there was a big fight between bad guys from Germany, and they were all on drugs. JC, I like the documentaries about the evil Charlie Chaplin weird sexual kinks. He effed his niece. That's what they say, because that's why she committed suicide, right? She jumped out a window and killed herself. Flaming Donut, NASA wouldn't have gotten to the moon without them. Probably the same as the user. Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's true. And in fact, if you look at the B-2 bomber, the big wide one, it's just basically wings. The bad guys from Germany had a plan for a plane just like that. And the idea was, and this was in a different documentary all about their planes, the idea was the entire plane was nothing but a giant gas tank. And they were going to strap some bombs to it and fly it all the way across the Atlantic Ocean just to drop bombs on New York, and then fly it all the way back and then just keep doing it. And but they never built the plane. It was like late in the war. But they had it. They had the designs, and it would have worked. And a lot of the stuff they never even built. Like the plans were there. Like I think it was Oppenheimer wrote a book on how to get to Mars, and he figured out like the fuel and how you would do it based on the technology, I guess in the late 40s, early 50s, and he had all these interesting ideas about like how they would land and then disassemble the ship to make other ships, and then how some guys would fly back and orbit and build a society there. But obviously they didn't do it. But like he could even figure out the cost. He was so smart. Black Queen says Wolfenstein game made a joke about that Germans were on meth. Mm-hmm. There's another great game I have. Oh man, where you get to shoot a lot of bad guys from Germany, but they're all undead. It's not Wolfenstein, it's a different one, but it's a good game. I don't know where it is. My games are all over the place. It's been a long time since I did video games in any kind of... That was like the last game I sort of got into. And just trying to kill all the bad guys from Germany. I have a friend, well, I don't really hang out with him anymore, but he was in my improv group, and he was absolutely obsessed with reading every book on the bad guys from Germany, and he knew all kinds of crazy facts from the era. And at the time, I thought he was a little nuts, but I can kind of see why he kept reading about it, because it's kind of a fascinating subject. It does fascinate people because they were just so evil, and it was just so crazy what they did. Flaming Donut, yeah, V1s and V2s, known as doodlebugs, were dropped on London. That's right. Scary time. Scary time for the Londoners. Oh, man. Need a haircut. So Alyssa Milano definitely knows less about history than all of us, and switched to VW. And this is kind of funny because VW was mentioned in this article. I guess a VW ad keeps popping up here on Post Millennial. But yeah, you can't take this. You can't do this moral grandstanding and then switch over to the VW like you did something, right? If she had just said, or how about this? How about just getting rid of your Tesla and not telling anybody? And then if anybody asks you, then you go, well, I got rid of my Tesla. Like, that's what she could have done, and nobody would have probably bothered to check. Black Queen says it was Pervitin drug that the bad guys from Germany were on meth for. It was addictive. Yeah, I think that was the idea. And I think there was an allusion in an episode of Next Generation about soldiers taking drugs, I remember. Sif Sifa is here. Was she in anything ever since Charmed? Well, she was in The Lost Boys, but that was early. She was in a few movies. I think she was, but I don't remember what it was. I mean, we can go on the IMDb. See, she's got projects. Like, they're all projects, you're never going to hear of, right? For the most part. Who's the Boss? I guess she was in that. All right, so here's what she's got coming up. Give Me an A. Some movie. Guy's Ultimate Game Night TV series. Brazen. These are all this year. So she was in 3 different things this year. So she ain't hurting for work. TV series called The Now. She was in 3 episodes last year. Yeah, she's working pretty steady. Because she's just, she's famous enough. She was in Wet Hot American Summer 10 years later, 5 episodes. She was in the female reboot. Oh, no, wait, that's a video game. She was in a Ghostbusters video game. Bleach Demon is here. Have you had the time to watch A Christmas Story Christmas? I did. Oh, I skipped a few of them. Hold on, I'll go back. It was great. I loved it. I don't know if you guys saw it. I reviewed it too. JC, she's got dead eyes like a shark. Flaming Donut, she was in Lost Boys. Love that film, or did. It's a great movie. It really is. She's not in it much. She's just the eye candy in that movie. She's the girlfriend. She's, who she is. It's Jason, it's her. She's one of the vampires, right? Or half vampires that gets saved at the end. Yeah, here she is. She's in everything. She's in a ton of stuff. She's got enough fame, enough clout. See, here's her early role. She was I think she was Schwarzenegger's daughter in the Commando. Sif Sifa, is Bleach Demon martial arts Harry? Are you martial arts Harry, Bleach Demon? Sif Sifa wants to know. Flaming Donut, was her name Sky? Yeah, in Lost Boys. She was Sky. Where is it? It's got to be over here somewhere. Or did I confuse her with another actress? Where's Lost Boys? Damn it, where's Lost Boys? Oh, it's not on this list. Maybe I am confusing her with someone else. Holy cow. I may have, all these years, I thought, Lost Boys. Here we go. Did I confuse her with another actress? Let's see. Jason Patrick, Corey Haim, Diane Wiest, Bernard Hughes, Kiefer Sutherland. Oh, I'm confusing her with Jamie Gertz. Yeah, Jamie Gertz. No, that's a different actress. My bad. Bleach Demon. Oh, Lord, no. Yeah. I didn't think he was martial arts Harry because I talked to him sometimes and he never mentioned. All these years, I thought it was Alyssa Milano. because I talked to Martial Arts Harry. We were going to do a skit in his comment, like he's coming to America, and he contacted me, and his girlfriend here lives not too far away, and we were going to meet up and then shoot like a 30-second comment. We had this little skit. He doesn't want to do it now because he's going to be obviously too busy with his girlfriend, who he hasn't seen in person for God knows how long. Which I don't blame him. I'm like, no, dude, go do your thing. So yeah, I Flaming Donut had quite a crush on Sky. God, too many hot women in Hollywood look similar, right? They have similar looks, and that's like part of the casting, I guess. Okay, so her big movie in the '80s was that Commando movie. I think she was just a little kid back then. She was like, you know, she was just like, I don't know, 12 or 13 or something. Yeah, because she's Jenny Matrix. Arnold's last name in Commando is Matrix. This is the dumbest name ever. Sif Sifa. It's just the surnames. Slur names blend in my mind. I think you meant surnames. Or did you? Yeah. And then she's in Who's the Boss? I don't remember her in that. I didn't really watch that show. My God, she's in 196 episodes. I guess she was a main character in Who's the Boss. I never watched that show. It looked dumb. But, I mean, she must be rich. Just on that alone. I mean, the syndication of Who's the Boss, that show was everywhere. And 195 episodes, you get paid. I don't know if I ever explained syndication. It was explained to me once. So you get paid for syndication, right? So first you get paid for being in the damn thing. Then the TV show is syndicated. And in every market, right? And there are a bunch of markets, like all over the world. You get paid the first time it shows 100%. Then you get paid 90%, 80%, 70%, and it goes all the way down to zero. But you get paid 10 times. And it's a lot of money, right? And it's just constantly pouring it in because that's in every market. That's why a lot of these, people like that, they need like a good accountant and a good lawyer because they're constantly making sure the studio continues to pay them because it's a long, they're selling the show to affiliates and whatnot. So she's got to be loaded. Absolutely loaded. JEC, Jeff Loeb wrote Commando? No way. He did? Oh my God. You just blew my mind if that's true. The Jeff Loeb. Oh, he wrote the story. Holy crap, he did. Along with Matthew Wiseman and Stephen E. D'Souza. Wow. You just blew my mind. Who the hell wrote the screenplay? There's no screenplay credit here. Oh, Stephen E. D'Souza was the screenplay guy. Wow. Jeff Loeb, look at you, dude. I never knew that. That was in '85. Oh, look at all his credits. I gotta go back. I gotta go back in time on this now. Yeah, there he is, Commando. He was associate producer too. Are these his producer credits? No. He wrote He was on Teen Wolf. Look at this. He was a co-writer. Didn't know that either. Man, look at him. And then not a lot for a while. And then he worked on Lost. Ugh, Lost. All right, now I'm not as excited. Black Queen, German were appropriate Aryan word and symbol for bad guys in Germany from the Southern Asians. Yes. Yeah, JEC wrote Teen Wolf 2. That's crazy. That's crazy. Man, look at all those credits. Iron Fist. I don't think you want that credit. Although I did like Luke Cage. I thought the Luke Cage show was okay. I heard the Iron Fist show was just unwatchable though, which is a shame. I really wanted to see an Iron Man and or a Power Man and Iron Fist show. I used to love that comic. Carter Chain. Hey, Lost is one of my mother's favorite shows. How'd she like the ending? She punch in her TV like everybody else. I think Lost to me is everything that's wrong with Hollywood, because I think the entire show was designed to be nothing but one long tease. And my friend, he kept telling me, "Oh, I'm watching this show. It's so good. You got to come out and hang out. We'll watch it." And I was like, "No, that looks stupid. It'll never pay off." And he went on, and finally I said, "Okay, I'll watch the last season with you." And we watched it, and oh man, he never heard the end of that. JC, those were his two big movies he wrote, and then he hooked up with Tim Sales and started to comics, Challengers from the Unknown, and then the first book they did together. Huh. Oh, here's Ardent. Hell. Hot. What does it say? It says hell all. I think you meant hello all. Too tired to stay. Hyphenated, exhausted from weekend. We'll watch later. Have a good stream. Thank you, Ardent. Thanks for checking in. Black Queen. Symbol from Bad Guys from Germany was originally from the symbols from Indian Hindus and Buddhists and Native Americans as well. Yes. In fact, there's a really funny short story, group of short stories from this author who did, oh God, I can't think of his name, but he wasn't known for writing comics or anything, but he did a book of short stories about superheroes, and one was called, The Symbol Man, because the premise was this guy gets a superpower from a Native American version of that symbol. And he gets superpowers, but his costume, he's covered in the symbol. And this Native American spirit speaks to him and says, "Oh, now you're going to be my avatar on Earth, and you're going to fight crime and all this stuff." And he's just like, "No, you don't understand. We can't. You can't leave me in this costume. Everybody will hate me." And he doesn't understand because he's like an ancient Indian spirit, and he's trying to explain to him, and like he ends up transforming to save somebody, but everybody hates him. It's pretty funny. Bleach Demon at Ardent. We know why you're exhausted, you lucky guy. Nice. JC, I watched 30 seconds of Lost, and they were running around the woods being chased by a S-looking CGI black cloud, and I turned it off. Yeah, and that was earlier in the show. One of the reasons I tuned in to watch Mac from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia was on it. He did like I think he was in 2 episodes where he basically plays like Mac on Lost. He's just a jerk, and that was kind of funny. But yeah, the show like is one endless tease. It like keeps enticing you with all these cool possibilities that are going to pay off big at the end, and then the show they couldn't end it. Like, it was all about subverting your expectations. Everything was about that. So they would have these episodes, and you would think, oh, this is about time travel. That's why everything's so screwed up. And then they would subvert that expectation, and it wasn't. It was magic. And then they would subvert that expectation. It was about the crazy cloud. And they just kept doing it again and again and again and again. And it was horrible. And finally, they came up with something that maybe could have worked. The idea at the end was that the reason everything was so screwed up, there were 2 gods that lived on the island, and they were having a chess match, and that's why all these magical things would happen, and it was all screwed up because it was the 2 gods playing out their deal. And then it was just awful. That show was a crime. It was like the television equivalent of a crime, in my view. And I hate it, and I'll never let my friend hear the end of making me watch that stupid show. And he agreed with me at the end. When we watched the last episode, I'm like, I told you. Flaming Donut. Lost was pretty good to start, but was confusing if you missed an episode. Right. Yeah, no, they had great setups, but if you don't pay them off, what's the point? Queen says, I thanking bad guys from Germany were very cultural appropriate from ancient Asians cultural to the Europeans. I'm not sure what you're trying to say there. JC, everything J.J. Abrams does is an S ending. Everything he writes falls apart in the third act. Yes. Because I think he doesn't care about the third act. He just wants to get your money and get you to watch. And after that, he just goes, okay, well, I got your money. See ya. Wait a minute, the show's not over. Yeah, I'm leaving. And it's a shame because if he hired a decent writer, I mean, I'm sure I could have come up with an ending with Lost that would have satisfied at least some people, as opposed to the ending they had, which I think satisfied no one. Everybody was mad at that ending. And I think you'll note, like, that show, I don't think they rerun it very often. I think they've rerun it in a couple of places, but it's not like other shows where, like Seinfeld. Seinfeld is kind of timeless. Everybody loves watching Seinfeld reruns. They love it. Now, to some extent, it's not fair because Lost is more of a straight-up narrative and Seinfeld wasn't, but still, I mean, like, there are shows that are more narrative that I think you could watch. I mean, I watched that Reacher show. I could probably watch that again, and I'm not big on watching anything twice. But the Reacher show was really good. Black Queen said, I meant bad guys were cultural appropriate from ancient Asian culture to putting Europeanness on it. Anyhow, let's move on to the next thing I wanted to talk about was box office. Before we get too late in the stream, Netflix's Glass Onion slays in limited release with estimated 15 million. I guess. Kind of hard to tell because it was limited release. But I don't know. I hate everything Rian Johnson does. He's just one of those guys that's on my list. Much like Damon Lindelof, whatever his name is, on Lost. He is just banished. I will not watch anything he's connected to. Black Queen, what about Strange World film? Oh, we're getting to that. Don't you worry. That's the next headline. That's the next tab. But crazily enough, they're saying Glass Onion did well. But of course, everyone's talking about Strange World. Yeah, the Glass Onion movie, terrible title. Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery. No, it's not. The only mystery is why they keep greenlighting your films, Rian Johnson. But Strange World, this movie, I couldn't be happier that it bombed. Woke as F, a cartoon, sci-fi that nobody can connect to, bad title as well. I think Strange World is a bad title. Too close to Strange New Worlds, which is the Star Trek, one of the new Star Trek series. I don't know what Disney even expected from this movie to release it now. Especially you're competing against your own movie. You're competing against Black Panther. So, looking at the numbers, Black Panther did a little better this weekend. It only dropped 31% as opposed to 50%. Black Queen, more like Strange Woke. Ha! JEC, they're literally giving him movies just out of spite. Yeah, I think so. You wrote out of spit, but I know what you meant. Strange Worlds is too generic a title. Yes, it is. Too generic, doesn't mean anything, and they spent $100 million on it. That's awful. To spend that kind of money on a movie for that, it looks terrible. It looks so boring. Watch the trailer if you don't believe me. It's boring. I mean, the designs are fine. It looks like a Pixar movie. But, I mean, Jake Gyllenhaal's, I think, one of the voices, so they got some star power, but that doesn't even matter anymore. But look at this opening. 11 maybe 12 million gross for $100 million picture. You heard 180, JEC. Possibly. You hear all weird numbers because they won't release the budgets anymore. Carter Shane, are you going to see Devotion? It looks good to me. That does look decent. I mean, it looks like Top Gun, except it takes place in during the Korean War. I mean, it looks okay. I would see it. I mean, I don't know. Movies are expensive. Black Queen, Strange World talked about toxic masculinity and gay biracial son and climate change. Yeah, hard pass. Hard pass on Strange World. But look at this lineup. Black Panther's number one at 45, basically 46 million, which is not that far down from 61 million. But this is the Thanksgiving Day weekend numbers. So you had it basically an extra 2-day weekend because everybody's off for Thanksgiving and no one wants to work on Black Friday unless you have to and you're in retail, right? Black Queen, Strange World story is boring and cringe due to ugliest animation. I mean, the animation I thought was okay. I mean, it didn't disturb me. I mean, I didn't think it was anything to write home about, but it just looked generic. JEC, they didn't even bother to promote it. They knew they were going to get a ton of crap over all the, can I say this, queer stuff in a kids movie, so they're just essing it out there and throwing it up on streaming. Yeah, it was a weird time to release it though, right? I mean, it's just like the kind of audience that would have went to see Strange World is the same audience that would have went to see Black Panther. And Black Panther's in the theater, so why would you essentially put out a competing movie for the same sort of audience? So I think the end result was that audience went to Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, or some people who just didn't get around to seeing it. I mean, there's kind of a tradition of going to movies, or there used to be in my circles, during Thanksgiving. We had two traditions. One was me and my friends would get together sometimes and play a touch football on Thanksgiving after dinner, and then go back home for turkey leftovers. And then years later, when we were older, we would say, "Oh, let's just go to the movies or hang out or whatever." But now we kind of don't do that. We're all too old. So I think a lot of people do something similar because you're off on Thanksgiving, you got nothing to do, you ate all the food, you could sit home and watch the game, or you could watch movies at home, or you could go out, which is, you just want to do something, you want to go somewhere. And this was your choices of movies, right? If you are into superhero movies, Strange World's for little kids, Black Panther is for older kids. Yeah, but it's kind of an overlap. I mean, I think it's an overlap because they're both kind of sci-fi. They're bright colors, and I mean, for a lot of people, Black Panther is like a kid's movie because it's superheroes. It's the same sort of people, at least in the United States. They glom everything in superheroes. That's kid stuff. I'm not into superheroes. I mean, that's the way it was for years, and now women are into it for some bizarre reason because there's all this like feminism in it, I guess, and they feel obligated. Black Queen, Wakanda, da homie forever. That's pretty funny. So this weekend kind of saved Wakanda a little bit. And if you look at the worldwide gross, I mean, Thanksgiving really isn't a factor internationally, just in the States, but it's hitting, now it's at 675. So it looks like it's going to make it to 700 now. It'll probably hit 700, which, is that money? Probably. I got to think it's money. A little bit of money. I can't see this costing more than $500 million. I mean, Jeremy of the Quartering read an article. I couldn't find it. I forget where it was. I'd have to go back. But he said somebody estimated it at $850 million. That seems insanely high. But it's possible, I guess, but I don't think so. I think I do think though Avatar 2, yeah, that one I believe. But Black Panther, 850 million just seems way too high for that. Flaming Donut, would have thought more of a family friendly film for Thanksgiving would be more appropriate for a Disney flick. Yeah, but there's nothing all that non family in Black Panther. I mean, it's rated. What is it rated? It's not rated R. I assume it's rated PG 13, right? Do they have the ratings on here? I don't think they do. I think I'm almost sure this is rated PG-13. Um, JC, they just wanted to let it come and go with the least amount of slack as possible. Thanksgiving weekend, you were most likely to get families looking in to see a family cartoon. Didn't matter what it was. I don't know. Is because it's so friggin' expensive to go to the movies. I mean, I don't know where it is near you guys, but near me, it's like 12 and up, at least. $12 would be the lowest, I think, regular movie, not a matinee, would be. And it's more like 14. So, I mean, you got two kids, that's, say it's 13, 26 for the kids, another 12 for you, that's 38. If you got your spouse, that's $50 right there. So you're talking did I do that math right? No, it's like more than that. It's 52 bucks just to buy the damn tickets for a family of four to go through the door. And then if you got kids, you have to get snacks. That's half the reason the kids want to go. So you got to get popcorn and you got to get drinks. So you're looking at like $100 to go to the movies. It's ridiculous. I would just convince my kids to watch something on one of. If I had a streaming service, I'd say, "Oh, well, there's plenty of movies on the streaming service. We'll sit home and watch a movie." So, Strange World is. See, the thing with Strange World, no one's waiting to see this movie. People wanted to see Black Panther, and I can understand that because they saw the first movie. It does have a fan base still, and people are Marvel stands, Marvel zombies we used to call them, so they would go. Strange World has nothing. There's nothing back in it. It's just a bunch of woke garbage. There's nothing. It's made by Disney. The end. That's not enough for anybody to go, oh, I want to see that. You know, Glass Onion, a Knives Out mystery, at least had the previous Knives Out movie, and you could get. The previous one was a hit ish. This one would definitely do some amount of business based on what it did before. And it did okay. It was in almost 700 theaters and apparently did like 15 million. What was the total here? 13.3. They're saying 15 in the trade. So, I mean, it's a shame a movie like Devotion isn't doing better. How many? Yeah, it's in 3,400 theaters. It only did 9 million. That's rough because it probably cost a bit of money to do. It's got big effects. You know, it's like Top Gun, except it takes place in the 50s and you're seeing planes and stuff. So you want to go to the theater for this movie. Yeah, it's. And one of the guys from Top Gun is in it. And he also plays another pilot. So, it does look good. I'll say that. Will I go see it in the theater? I mean, if I was reviewing movies on a regular basis, I wouldn't have missed it. But since I only review movies I can kind of afford to go to, gun to my head, if I had to pick a movie to go see in the theaters, it would be The Banshees of Inisherin. I really want to see that movie. That's down here. Number, I don't know, what are we at? Like 14. It's not doing well, but it's an art house movie. Because that looks friggin' awesome. I also wanted to see Triangle of Sadness. I'm a movie guy, so I want to see all the weird movies. Banshees of Inisherin, Triangle of Sadness, I kind of wanted to see. I kind of want to see Tar now after hearing about that scene. I don't know if you guys saw the clip of Kate Blanchett ripping her woke student. Her character rips some woke student in a scene in Tar, which made me totally want to see the movie. Which leads me to believe, again, that the woke train is slowing. Because when you get scenes like that, and it was a cool scene, the movie is doing, Again, art house movie. I think it may be up for some Oscars, but we'll see. We'll see what Hollywood does. They're going to throw Oscars at some of these movies. And then they'll be out again in a month. They'll push them all again to try to squeeze some money. I'll tell you, the movie they're really going to push for Oscars is The Fabelmans. And they are pushing this movie hard. JC, does she show her boobies in the movie again too? I don't know. I don't think so. She could. If she does, it's very sort of perfunctory, like, oh, she's just getting a shower and on her way to work kind of scene. Because it's not like a sexy movie. Maybe. I'll tell you who I wish was showing boobies is Kate Hudson's in the Glass Onion movie. She looks great, by the way. Still looks great. But I would doubt she was showing her boobies in that either. Sadly, no boobies. The Menu maybe has boobies. I don't know. I think that one's rated R. Another movie that they'd been talking about for a long time. It's doing okay, I guess. I mean, 33 million worldwide. Probably didn't cost that much to shoot. JC, those are always the highlight of her performances. I like actresses that don't care and will get topless in a movie. But yeah, this Fabelmans movie, man, they're going to push this hard. This is like basically the life of Steven Spielberg and another love letter to making movies and stuff. Flaming Donut. I live in the UK. Prices here are about 10 to 15 quid. The last film I saw was The A-Team. Mainly because I got in for free. That sounds like a movie that should be for free. I used to watch the TV show. I didn't go to see the movies. I was upset they didn't use any of the original guys, or did they? Did they make cameos? I don't know. And I thought, what's his name? Who was? Oh God, what's his face? Taken was in that movie, wasn't he? Wasn't he Hannibal? I guess. Silly movie. Silly, stupid movie. I actually wish they kept making stupid, silly movies like the A-Team movie. Now they just make... I mean, look at this lineup. So Black Panther, meh, woke. No use for it. Strange World, totally woke. Woke as F. F that. Get Lost, no interest. Glass Onion, Rian Johnson, another wokey. No thank you. Devotion, maybe. The only thing about Devotion is it's not a particular topic I'm excited about. JC, didn't the MMA fighter they got to play Mr. T just die suddenly? Did he? Oh no. A lot of people are dying suddenly. In fact, I hear there's a documentary called Died Suddenly about certain medical procedures. I don't know how real it is or how true it is, but they've been, I think it's been censored on various social media platforms. Flaming Donut, no cameos, completely different original story. They think they were Gulf War vets, if memory serves. The original was fun. Then you got The Menu, which looks okay, but also looks weird. JC, Rampage Jackson, wasn't it? He was like 38. 38? Yeah, it's way too early to be dying suddenly. And then, my family kept pressuring me to take a certain medical procedure. And I kept saying no. And they would say, why? I said, because I'm worried that I will have a mysterious heart attack. And they're like, well, that's not going to happen. I go, it might. And if it does, you'll just say, well, he was 56. And a lot of people die of heart attacks if you're 56 and you're kind of fat and you don't really watch what you're eating. So, yeah, nobody was going to look at me twice if I dropped dead of a heart attack. So, yeah, I skipped the certain medical procedure. And then I'm so glad I did, because I hear of certain people suddenly having heart problems. So I would rather not have those. I am very worried about all my relatives who did get a certain medical procedure. So far, knock on wood, I haven't heard of any mysterious deaths, although I did just hear about a guy who was in one of my improv groups who just suddenly died. And I'm still trying to get the details. Somebody said it may have been a heart attack. He was younger than me, and so I don't know what he died of, though. JC, I think I'm confusing my MMA fighters. I'm not seeing Rampage Jackson being dead. Oh, maybe it's a different guy then. Then you got The Menu, which, again, weird movie. I don't really know what it's about. I know it's about a chef doing something weird to his patrons, and I'm not sure if he kills them and serves them or whatever. I don't think it's that extreme, but something kooky. Then you got Black Adam, another superhero movie. Not woke. Probably mainly not woke, although they did race swap a bunch of the characters for some. I mean, if you're going to go woke, might as well go all the way. I mean, you race swapped some of the characters. I don't know what you gained by that. Probably nothing. The Fablemans, I don't think will be woke, but I think, like, Spielberg is super, super sappy. And so I think this will be like easily his most sappy movie in history. So, like, these are very unappealing movies, at least to me. Black Adam has a little bit of appeal just because I'm into superheroes and I kind of want to see what all the hubbub is, but it's starting to fade, and I'm pretty much resigned to seeing it on HBO Max. And then you got Bones and All. And Bones and All, I definitely have zero interest in seeing. I definitely wouldn't pay for that movie. I might watch it on HBO Max because it does look incredibly dumb, like it's trying to push this idea of cannibalism in a way that is cool. And there's been articles in Variety like, why is cannibalism suddenly hot? JC, Rumble Johnson was the guy I'm thinking about. Oh, is there a Rampage Jackson and a Rumble Johnson? Those are two pretty similar names. Weird. So, not a lot to see here, in my view. Oh, and Ticket to Paradise, as much as I would never go see that movie, that was kind of like a normal movie. I mean, it was just a family-esque kind of movie about a family and a wedding, and, that's the one movie that's kind of normal in this list. Then you got She Said, which that was the other article I had. Where the hell is that? Do you have this article? Let's see. No, I guess I didn't even call this up. I think I talked about this last night. She Said they're saying it is the biggest bomb of 2022, I guess, or maybe in history, which is so weird because I remember the House of Wax not making a lot of money, and then I looked it up, and it turns out it made $37 million, but She Said apparently is a huge bomb. They're saying it's like the biggest bomb. I mean, it's only made $6.3 million. I don't think it cost too much to shoot. That's probably not money, though. But, like, that's typical, to me, tone-deaf Hollywood. You made a movie about the Harvey Weinstein thing. It just happened. It's still happening. I mean, the trials aren't even over. And you're still making. You're going to make this movie already? Like, with the trials still going on, like the story's not even over. JEC, yes, both of these are real guys. You can see why I got confused. Yeah, they're very similar. Rumble Johnson was the one whose heart blew up from certain medical procedure. Oof. Ooh, I'm so glad. If I had taken that procedure, I would be a different person. I would be an absolute wreck. On a daily basis, this channel would probably be devoted to me worrying about me going to die. So I couldn't be happier that I didn't take it. My new slight paranoia is that I somehow end up in the hospital and a doctor injects me with it without my permission because he thinks he's helping me, and then that's my new nightmare. But I have various nightmares in my brain. JC, Avatar is going to be the biggest bomb in history. Yeah, it sounds that way. Oh yeah, Avatar. My God. It's got to be like the fourth highest grossing movie in history to break even. What are you, out of your mind? How do you spend $2 billion? I don't know how these guys spend that money. I really don't. For essentially what boils down to a okay cartoon. Maybe one that'll be people will call beautiful, but like I saw the first one and it looks nice, but it was boring to me. So derivative. Flaming Donut. Apparently Weinstein is taking the mick out of She Said from his prison cell. He's taking the mick out of She Said. Huh. What? I guess he still has pull? I mean, what do you mean taking the mick out of? That's an idiom. I'm not sure what that means. Unless you had a typo in that. Taking the mick out of. JEC, yeah, everyone is still in denial about it too. Sad and frustrating. Yeah, I said in the video yesterday, She Said, which I mispronounced many, many times in that video because I was very tired. She Said should be a movie after Harvey Weinstein dies. After he's dead, that's when you make the movie. Because then no one's going to sue you over talking about him. So you can finally freely talk about him. You know, even though he's in jail, I think potentially still could orchestrate a lawsuit, I assume. Making fun of. Oh, yeah. Weinstein is... I think I did see something where he's making fun of She Said. And that it's doing poorly. I mean, and it's not meant to be a big movie. Like, maybe if we were in the 80s and most of the movies were happy or action and, you know, you had all this fluff and then that was the one of 3 serious movies that came out. Sure. We're in this mode of, like, all these movies, they're such a drag. Black Panther is woke, so that's a drag. Strange World, woke, that's a drag. Knives Out, maybe it's meant to be funny, but I think Rian Johnson is not funny, so that's a drag. Devotion, probably one of the reasons I won't get around to seeing it. It's a kind of a serious movie, and it's kind of going to be a drag, even though it'll probably be okay. The Menu, kind of dark. Black Adam, kind of dark. The Fablemans, super nostalgic. Bones and All, dark. Ticket to Paradise is the only happy movie on that list. She Said, dark. Lyle, Crocodile, kind of light, but it's a kid's movie. Smile, dark as F. Pray for the Devil, dark. Banshees of Inisherin, that's why I want to see that movie. Because unlike Ticket to Paradise, it's probably super good and super clever and super interesting. Like, Ticket to Paradise to me would be the most boring thing ever. Flaming Donut, the 80s were a great time for movies. Well, yeah, I guess I don't know. I lived in the 80s, and so my attitude at the time was it was too much, and we needed stuff that was not so much serious, but different, because they wouldn't do certain things because it was all of it was fluff. I hated the music. I hated the hair. Um, the movies I did like. Most of the movies I did like, at least the action movies. But like from the 80s, you couldn't see what was going to happen because when you're in it, it's like you look at it and you go, "Oh, here are the things that annoy me. Therefore, they're wrong and they should change." And then later, when you get perspective and you look back on it, you realize, "Oh, wait, I kind of missed some of that." So that's why. I mean, that's what you learn as you get older, right? Like back in the 80s, talking to me, you would have said, "Oh, that kid's crazy." I'm not talking to that kid. He's nuts. He's out of his mind. Um, I liked a lot of the movies. Like I liked Schwarzenegger, but we also used to make fun of him too. We used to say, "Oh, Arnold is going to shoot you in the face. It's the same movie every time." And we used to. I wanted to do something. I wanted to do action movies, but I wanted them to be smarter because sometimes they were stupid. I hated when I watched a movie and it was stupid. And then the 90s came around and like we made this shift into slightly darker movies. They were still mostly the same. They went into a lot of thrillers. X-Files got big, and so it was all about that. JC, screw your freedom. that was such a weird quote coming out of him. Like Arnold couldn't be more pro-American back in the 80s. Arnold was the president's health and fitness advisor, like for Ronald Reagan, I think. And he would go around the country teaching kids to eat right and exercise, and he couldn't be more pro-American. And then when he said that, that was a real heartbreaker. It was like, Arnold, how could you say something like that? Black Queen, 2000s are great. Yeah, 2000s kind of balanced things out a bit until 9/11 happened, and then everybody became super pro-American, like too much. Like the 80s were pro-American, but that was nothing compared to the 2000s. But then it was different. It was like pro-America, but it was like pro-America politics kind of thing, and there was a little bit of meanness to it because it was this idea we were gonna go kick A and take names later, and we were gonna take care of business finally, and like for those of us who were a little older looking at Bush, we were like, oh no, we're not. He's an idiot. He didn't care about any of this, and yeah, so I wasn't too happy about that. And then they were censoring the movies like crazy because they were so afraid to incite hatred against like Muslim people. So and the army. So there was this weird. I don't know if you remember with the Hulk movie that was directed by the action dude. What's his name? I forget his name. The famous action director that starred Eric Bana. And they didn't want to have Hulk fight the U.S. Army because they didn't want to have him hurt any of the soldiers, because it was like not too long after 9/11 and they were totally paranoid about that. So instead they had him fight stupid giant mutant dogs for some reason. It was weird. But that was another movie ruined on Ang Lee. Yeah, that was him. Thank you, Bleach Demon. And that was another movie that was just ruined over nonsense politics. So it was a weird time for movies, but the box office was crazy. Stuff back then, it was like it was crazy times where people went to the movies and it was a regular thing. The technology was different too. So when you're looking at the 80s, people went to the movies on a regular basis. The only alternative, if you didn't go to the movies, was to wait for the thing to come out on videotape. And then you could rent it, but that would probably take, if it was a hit movie, it'd probably take a year. So you didn't want to wait. The movies weren't that expensive at the time. Like, they were cheaper than they are now. And it was a thing to do. People went to the movies. Even in the 90s, people went to the movies. It wasn't until the internet in the late 90s really started to crack the media, and then people realized, oh, we could just download movies. That's when things started to fall apart for the studios, and they fought it every step of the way. You know, back in the 80s, I tried to, well, I guess it would have been early 90s, early days of the internet, I tried to convince a producer, could I email you a screenplay? And he was like, why? I was like, because you'll have it today. All you got to do is print it out. He's like, oh, I'm not doing that. Just mail it. So back then, they just wouldn't do it. Now, like, you can't mail a screenplay. They don't want anything in the mail. They want it all on email so they can control it and just delete it or say they never got it. So, it's a weird time. Weird time. Weird how things change and stay the same all at the same time. So, but like looking at this movie, like back in the 80s, it would be like one of the Friday the 13th movies, one of the Arnold Schwarzenegger movies where he shoots people in the face. You know, it would have been probably some love story with, like, I don't know, Hugh Grant or somebody like that. Some light romantic comedy, things like that. That's the kind of stuff that was in the movies. Like, the only light romantic comedy here is Ticket to Paradise. This is the only normal movie on the list for me. And it's doing okay worldwide. It's doing better overseas than it's doing here. You know, The Fabelmans, the Spielberg movie, essentially. The action movies have all been replaced with superhero movies that are bad. You know, Black Adam, I think, is okay, but it's not as good as, like, I think, like, regular action movies at this point. At this point, the superhero movies are degrading. I mean, definitely Black Panther. I wouldn't give you 10 cents for. I'm not going to see that. It's the same problem that the comic books had. Once you launched all these comics, then they all have baggage. Now you're doing sequels, and they've got tons and tons of baggage. Like, how are they going to do another Thor movie and make it serious? They effed it up, right? They made it too funny, too wacky, not even funny, just goofy and woke. And I don't think they can. I don't think they can put that genie back in the bottle. Flaming Donut. Good point about 9/11. Do you think today's wokeness might be a backlash to the pro-American thing, similar to the 70s counterculture against Nam? It's not a backlash. It's the same thing, because what the 9/11 thing was a trend. Everybody got caught up, just like they're caught up in wokeness. Everybody got caught up in 9/11. Like, I went to New York to a party, and I'll never forget this. I'm at a party, and I meet this gorgeous girl, and I'm, like, stoked, because she's into me. And I'm chatting her up. This is, like, I don't know, 6 months after 9/11 in New York. And I have very little game. So, this was teed up for me, and I thought, great. And I start chatting her up, and my move was to say, I write for the Simpsons comics, because that's all I got. And sometimes that impresses the ladies, and sometimes it doesn't, but she just seemed into me, so she was like, oh, that's very interesting. And I'm like, I'm good. Maybe I can get somewhere with this amazingly gorgeous college co-ed. And so as I say that, there's some other guys in the room who overhear me, and they're comic fans. And they immediately C-block me. And they start trying to talk to me. And I'm trying to get rid of them, and they just won't shut up. Then they explain that they have a local TV show about comics. And at this point, the girl I'm trying to talk to is starting to get bored. And I can see I'm losing her. And I had a decision to make. These idiot fanboys weren't leaving me alone. And I was losing the girl. So I either had to tell them off and try to recover with the girl, or just say, F it, I might as well try to get on their stupid TV show and try to promote my comics. So I made the decision, and I said, okay, maybe I'll find this girl at the party later, and I'll try to shut up these fanboys. So I start talking to the fanboys. And we're talking about comics. And I don't know how it happened, but somehow we got to talking about 9/11. And at the time, Marvel was doing 9/11 comics, and they were super crazy pro-American. They were weird comics and whatever. And I said, yeah, they're kind of weird comics. I don't know why they're exploiting 9/11 to sell comics. Or I said something like that. I wasn't even like super, super hardcore as I was. I was very anti-war. I was very against the Iraq War. Well, these guys now change gears and we start getting political. And now everybody in the room, and this is New York City, turns against me. So, because I'm against the war in Iraq, these guys are super for it. They are like down. They're like, how can you be against this war? We have to fight them over there after what they did to us. And I'm like, well, it's more, now I'm defending myself. And now I'm like thinking in my head, why did I entertain these fanboys? I hate them. I want to punch them in the face and go back to talking to the hot chick. So we get into this long, and then no lie, there was this older guy who was at the party because his daughter was dating my friend and she threw the party, and that's why we were there. And he steps in, and he was a Korean War vet who had saw terrible things. And he was all about the Iraq War and supporting the troops. And I was a bad person for not supporting the troops blindly like everybody else in the room was. And he lit into me and just started talking about the Korean War, telling this horrific story about a North Korean that got caught on the barbed wire, and he was in agony and they shot him and it messed him up for the rest of his life. And I'm just like, oh my God, how did I get here? I was just talking to a hot girl. But these people were caught up in it just like wokeness. They didn't care about the facts. I was trying to explain, like, no, Saddam Hussein doesn't have weapons of mass destruction. We're in Iraq for nothing. There's a complex political thing here. Osama bin Laden was funded by the Saudis. Like, all the 9/11 stuff that everybody now kind of knows, unless they, haven't read a newspaper since 1990 or 2002. But back then, you couldn't tell these people. They bought into the propaganda, and they were the same TDS sufferers you see today, except it was a different topic. For them, it was 9/11, and they were New Yorkers, and they were attacked, and nothing you said mattered. It didn't matter. You could argue, you could tell them facts, and they just no, you're anti-American. Now, I bet if I confronted those same people today and I was in the bar saying, oh, no, I like Trump. I think he did some good things or whatever. They would turn against me. No, America's a terrible place. Why? It's full of systematic racism. They'd be the same people. Because they're sheep. I think they're sheep. They buy into propaganda. They watch the news or whatever. And, you just can't get them off of that. If they buy into the feelings like Alyssa Milano, see how I tied it in? Alyssa Milano has bought into that, or she just knows where her bread is buttered. She's bought into Elon Musk is a bad person, and I must do something, anything. It doesn't matter how stupid it is. I'm going to do something. Look at me. I bought a VW. I'm a good person. That's the way these people are. Black Queen. SJWs are true black sheeps. Well, it's a lot of people are. They just, even nice people who, you explain it to them and they just go, well, you say that, but it seems like everybody else disagrees with you. And I've heard that my entire life. And then later I'm right, but nobody ever comes around to say, oh, you were totally right about that. They just pretend like we never had that conversation, or I've never talked to them again because they got so mad at me they stopped talking to me. But there's nothing you could do. I mean, there are people who question things, and then there are people who they don't care. If it doesn't affect them, they don't care. Now, maybe they grow up somewhere down the line, they get burned hard enough that they say, I have to question things because I got burned so bad this time, I can't let it ever happen again. But a lot of people just don't. Because a lot of people just drift through life and things don't really impact them all that much. Flaming Donut was just wondering how they would feel about it today, but like you say, some people just don't want to know the truth. They want to feel good about themselves. And however, the shortest line to that, that's what they're going to do. They also want to be accepted by their friends. So if you're in a group of people, did you say you were writing the Simpsons comics? I used to write the Simpsons comics. They don't make them anymore, but I used to work for Bongo. I wrote about 60 stories. You can look me up. Look me up on the Simpsons wiki. So most people, I think, they have like a group of friends, and they want their friends to accept them. And so when you get into a discussion with your friends over something like that, and all of you say A, but you say B, you'll get some flack. Now, maybe that'll all be in good fun in your friends and whatnot, but that happens again and again and again. People feel like they're ostracized, and it can get heated, and I don't know. I don't care, but people don't argue politics with me anymore because they go, oh, I can't argue with him. You can't talk to him. And it's just like, well, I'm sorry. Like, I'm the only one I know in my circle. I can't even think of anybody else. Maybe one other person one other person who's not vaccinated. That's the only person I can think of. Out of all the people who are not vaccinated, it's me, maybe one or two other people, maybe a couple of my relatives that I don't officially know about, that I suspect, but the vast majority of people got it, and I was under intense pressure to get it. Like, intense pressure by everybody. Now, I'll give my relatives some credit. They didn't, like, draw a line or try to disown me or anything like that, but they did keep saying, like, aren't you worried? Aren't you worried? Like, you could die. We wouldn't want that. Like, and that's heavy. It was heavy for me. And it's just like, at some point, I can see why people just go, okay, I'll just get it. And then people like say I'm a good guy, and they'll relax, and I'll do it for my family. And I can totally see that. And it's the same thing with these pressures of being woke or being, all amped up about 9/11. It's the same exact thing. They feel the pressure, and then they go along with the group, and then that pressure's gone. Oh, you're one of us. Great. You think we should invade Iraq? Ah, you're all right. I knew you were an okay guy. Here, have a beer. But I've never been like that. One of my nicknames in college was Tony DiGerolamo, and they would put O.M.O, which stand for odd man out, because I was always arguing with people. Flaming Donut. I used to love that comic. Still got them in the attic. Even have number 1 signed by Bob Morrison, I think it was. Probably Bob. Yep, he was one of the names on the book. I think my earliest would have been Bart. I wrote a lot of Bart Simpson. I think Bart Simpson number 9 was my first one. I did a story about Homer versus the raccoon. Oh no, that was the first story I wrote, but that wasn't in Bart. I forget the first Bart story that got published. Yeah, the first story I wrote was Homer versus the raccoon. It was a backup story in one of the Simpsons comics, and I think they ran it in 2 or 3 parts. So anyway, wild tangent there, but it connects into movies in that everything you tell about a story, and I said this in my video yesterday, should connect with the general populace, and that's the problem for me, right? Like, it's, if I don't agree with you, say, on a certain medical procedure, to make jokes about it is tough, because my audience all got it, let's say. And so now making those jokes is kind of tough, because the audience is like, hey, wait a minute. Why are you implying the people who got the certain medical procedure are wrong? That doesn't make any sense to me. So it's another Bart Simpson number 9, says JEC, a chair of one's own according to Wiki. That's it. That I'm definitely in that one. I know that title. That's not my story, a chair of one's own, but there are multiple stories in it. Thank you, JEC. Yeah, so in order to connect with an audience, you have to connect with them. So this is why you gotta mostly avoid politics in screenplays and in stories when there's no need for it, or you gotta slip it in quietly that nobody really notices, because you alienate people, and you could be right, you know, you could be totally 100% right, you know, you could have been, I don't know, the guy back in the day who wrote about the world being revolving around the sun in a comic book, and everybody said, "Oh, you're a fool, and you're committing heresy, and your comic is stupid," and nobody would read it, but you'd be right. But that doesn't do any good for your sales. So, you know, and part of, I think, Hollywood and the big studios is they're under the misguided impression they can influence society, but they can't engineer it. They can influence it, but they can't engineer it. They think they can engineer it if they just push a little harder. No. What they end up doing is what they're doing with wokeness, right? So they're pushing wokeness as hard as they can. JC, trying to look up one issue of Radioactive Man my cousin had when I was a kid. Only Simpsons comic I remember reading. Yeah, I never worked on Radioactive Man. I always thought it was too inside baseball for Bongo. It was very comic booky. But they also never let me. I never pitched for it, and they wanted me on Bart Simpson for some reason. I wanted to write Futurama at least once, but I never got a chance to. I did get to do a Treehouse of Horror right towards the end. I wrote the Treehouse of Horror, which is a parody of Ghostbusters. And so it has Homer on the cover as Stay Puft. And then it's called the Ghost Bashers, and it's Homer, Frank, Lenny, and Carl as the Ghostbusters. Or no, I'm sorry. Homer, Frank, Lenny, and Carl as the Ghostbusters. But then we call them the Ghost Bashers, and instead of firing, energy, they have these energy batons and they beat the ghost. So looking at, in terms of the connection on these movies, Black Panther, Wakanda Forever doesn't connect with anyone or anything. I think they're trying to sell it as that kind of movie because they're trying to sell it to, say, a black audience, to say, oh, these are black characters, so therefore you should connect with them. Maybe you could argue that there aren't enough movies starring black people that would be a reason for it to connect, but I don't think that has anything to do with why Black Panther is successful. I think it was successful because of the comic and the first movie, and it's just the first one was good, and then this one is just riding the coattails of that one. Strange World doesn't, in my view, connect with anything because you got a woke family and you got these sci-fi elements, and it's too far removed from the average person. Glass Onion probably doesn't connect with anybody either. I think all the characters are rich, and it's about a whodunit. I don't think anybody can connect to it. So that's another one. Out. Devotion, maybe, because the character is put upon in a time period where, America is fighting a war and still sort of new and young and cool. So maybe that'll connect on some level, except that most of the people from that era are probably dead. So the only people who can kind of connect to this movie are people who have had maybe similar experiences. JEC, it was Radioactive Man #4. They spoofed the death of Superman, making the comic out of the comic from the show. That was a fun idea, I thought. I liked it when I was a kid. Oh, yeah, it was fun. It was always fun. Ian Boothby, who was one of the other writers, his stories were really great, too. I would put his stories up against any on the show. They were amazing. Although he got mad at me. I forget why. Why did he get mad at me? I want to say, no, I shouldn't say anything because I'm not sure I'm remembering it correctly, but I think he got mad at me over a tweet or something. But I'm still a big fan. I think Ian is very talented, very funny. The menu about rich people going to this restaurant. Maybe you could relate to it if you're a restaurant guy like me, but again, not very relatable. Black Adam, not relatable at all, really. Superheroes. The Fablemans, again, relatable at a time when, if you're Steven Spielberg age, right? If you're like older than me, like if you're in your 70s, yeah, Fablemans, that'll hit the nail on the head for you. But again, that's not the movie-going audience. Bones and all, they're cannibals. I don't think it's very relatable. JEC, Steve Vance wrote the issue I was thinking of. Didn't know Steve Vance. Ticket to Paradise. That's the most relatable movie, I think, on the list because it's about a divorced couple who have to go to their daughter's wedding and then hijinks ensue. So that's a pretty relatable movie. She said, I'm not saying it's not a serious topic, but it's not very relatable. Most people don't work in the movie industry. Most people aren't journalists. This is a very specific thing. Again, needed more time. Probably wouldn't be a good movie in general. It should be more of a documentary. Lyle Lyle Crocodile is a kid's movie. Maybe kind of relatable, sort of. Smile looked, for a horror movie, relatable. The characters looked like they weren't rich. They were people doing jobs. Like, I think the woman was a therapist, and she's the one who gets caught up in all the demonic forces of the smile. Pray for the Devil, I'm not sure. I'm not totally remembering that movie, but kind of. Banshees of Inisherin is totally universal, relatable movie because the entire premise of the movie is it's about two friends in this village in Ireland who live on an island. So it's a very tiny village. And the premise of the movie is one day these two best friends, Brendan Gleeson and Colin Farrell, Brendan Gleeson finally says to Colin Farrell, "You're too boring and I can't be friends with you anymore." And then everybody in the village goes nuts, and it's about how that impacts the entire village. To me, that's relatable because it's about friendship, and at the heart of that movie is the relationship of these two characters. And that's something everybody can relate to. Having a friend, and maybe you lost a friend for whatever reason. I just described how most of my friends stopped talking to me. So, that's relatable. The Woman King, not relatable. Takes place way in the past. It wasn't written in a relatable way, I don't think. Triangle of Sadness is a weird movie, probably not relatable. Tar, maybe a little. And it goes on and on and on. Something open called The Beauty and the Bloodshed in 3 theaters. We'll see how that does. What time is it? Oh, I got to start finishing up my headlines before I go. What do I want to talk about real quick so we can get into a few more headlines here. Will Wheaton. I'm so sick of Will Wheaton. He apparently had a meltdown over Elon. This guy left Twitter in a huff, you may remember. Black Queen, Dahomey is not very relatable. Yeah, exactly. It existed. It's a kingdom. It existed far in the past. It's like, you gotta have relatable characters. And it's possible to make Dahomey relatable, but I don't think they made an effort to do that at all. You can see it in the trailer. It's all about the big events. It's not about relatable characters. But Will Wheaton is just... Will Wheaton's a guy, my understanding is he's admitted quite openly on the internet and other places that he suffers from various mental illnesses. And he left Twitter in a huff, took all his followers with him to Mastodon in an attempt to own Twitter. And this is at a time when it was still a dumpster fire of wokeness. So he gets the Mastodon and he gets canceled. The same thing that happened to other people on Twitter at that time. Canceling was rampant. He goes to Mastodon and they cancel him because he's not woke enough. I think they flagged him for some sort of gender language or whatever. Who the hell knows? I wouldn't go to Mastodon. F that. But now he's back complaining about Elon, talking about he's hurting our society and making people I care about less safe. I mean, I just can't stand this guy. I don't know why he keeps showing up. It just seems like he's an attention-seeking a-hole who just keeps, I guess he gets just enough work to stay kind of mildly famous. It's like, dude, you're basically screaming about freedom of speech. That's what you're screaming. You're screaming, I don't want freedom of speech for anybody. People's feelings are more important, and we should censor everybody so it doesn't hurt my tender sensibilities. But here's a guy who I'm almost sure, maybe I'm remembering this wrong, but I'm pretty sure he's admitted in print that he suffers from various mental illnesses. Correct me if I'm wrong. So, like, the logic of that doesn't make any sense either. It's like, dude, you have some issues. Nothing wrong with that. People have issues, whatever. But should you really be the guy to make that call? Can you really judge this, that he's hurting society? Or is that your mental illness talking? I would say the former. Shut up, Wesley, is what I would say to him. And I talked about this just briefly. This is Thor, putting Thor back into the bottle. Like, even Hemsworth is like, we have to go back to Thor the way he was. A more serious Thor, essentially. I don't even think you needed to make him serious. I think you just need to take Taika Waititi out of the mix at this point. I don't know what his plan was. I mean, Thor Ragnarok was pretty good. I enjoyed it, but I don't know what the fourth movie, I don't know what he was thinking. I don't know if these guys got told, oh yeah, the Jane Foster Thor comics, they're very popular. Fans love these. No, they didn't. They hated them. Go to a quarter box. I bet you find 4 of them. Nobody wants those comics. Nobody wants Jane Foster Thor. Nobody wants Riri Williams as Iron Man. No one wants American Chavez. No one wants Ms. Marvel. No one. They don't have a fan base. If you put all that fan base together, it'd be the same 10 girls on Twitter. And most of them probably don't buy the damn comics. There's not a fan base there. Thor, on the other hand, huge fan base. Goes over decades. The other characters I just mentioned, they would be too new anyway. And they weren't popular. Popular comics explode off the shelf. The last new popular character, I don't know. When was the last new popular I guess Miles Morales. He was pretty popular. I mean, I don't even particularly like that whole concept of just race-swapping Spider-Man, but he was popular. People liked him. And that's why he's endured to some degree. I saw a kid in the comic book store the other day. He was looking for Miles Morales. I don't see anybody looking for female Thor, Riri Williams, American Chavez, none of those comics. In fact, the comic book store I was in, they don't carry new comics anymore. He said they don't sell. Nobody wants them. So he just sells graphic novels and used comics now. The entire store. His entire store is now that. He was worried he couldn't make that transition, but he's totally made it. There's no point in having X-Men on your shelf anymore, new X-Men. It's that off the reservation at this point. JEC manga is popular now. Everyone is grabbing up Chainsaw Man stuff like hotcakes. Yep. Because that stuff hasn't really changed. It's still pretty much where it was. And it's not woke. It's not pushing feminism. You don't have to fix it. They're doing the same thing to the movies. They're following Marvel down the rat hole. They're doing the same thing to the movies that they did to the comics. I don't know why. I mean, the comic division doesn't even make any money anymore. Not really, when you do all the math. I don't think. Don't quote me. That's just my guess. It's just my feelings. So, yeah, I don't think you can put this genie back in the bottle. I think you kind of ruined Thor. the hit you should have taken on Thor 4, you'll take on Thor 5, even if it's good. People won't go see it. You'll have to dig yourself out of the hole so people go, oh, no, 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 this one was really good. No, they did it right this time. You got to go see it. And by the time you dig yourself out of that hole, the movie should be out of theaters, because now movies are in theaters for like a month. You know? It's just, I don't think you can make a good enough movie for that to work. I think I had one more headline, a positive headline that I wanted to end on. Fabian Nietzsche working on a sci-fi indie comic with U.S. Navy vets. So that's kind of cool, I thought. I mean, Fabian's got quite a fan base. I think I met him at a con once. I think I met him at that Kentucky con. But that's kind of cool, kind of pro-American, I assume, with Navy vets. I assume it's not going to be a bunch of pink-haired weirdo stuff. So, let's see. It's called Coup Mighty. So, I don't know why. I don't know why he's working on it with U.S. Navy vets. I guess the writer is a U.S. Navy vet. They're developing the book from the antagonist's point of view. I mean, the art looks nice enough. So cool. I'm just glad. What did he do? I'm not sure what he created. I know he worked on Wolverine. I believe he worked on Deadpool. He worked on a lot of X-Men stuff. I know that. I skipped Flaming Noda. The race or sex swap thing shows a lack of imagination. There are many heroes from various mythologies from around the world. Shame they're not looked at more. Yeah. I mean, I just said the other day that the movie Chevalier, I think it's called, it's about this black music composer that was around in France during the time of the Revolution. And he was black. He was black Creole. And he was a genius. And it's a true story. And when I first started watching it, I was like, did they race swap this guy? Because they do it so often. I thought, I got to look this guy up. So I looked him up. No, he's a real guy. And he was black. And he was a musical genius who, you know, he was in the mix at that time. At the time when classical music was big. And it's an interesting story. And I said, oh, my God. Here's a movie, Hollywood, about a black protagonist that needs to be told. Like, you don't have to race swap people. There are people from history you could do movies about. And they finally are, but it's like, how long did it take for them to get to that point? He's the perfect character for that. I mean, he's the perfect historical figure. Not only is he a genius and black, he is also part of the revolution. And so a lot of the French revolutionaries, they sound a little, I mean, this is pre-communism, but they sound kind of communist. They're like prototype communists in a lot of ways. But it looks like an interesting movie, I'll tell you that. And so, yeah, there are all these characters and myths and stuff they could be exploiting for movies, but they don't, because no one in Hollywood reads. They are lazy people. And they do whatever's popular. And right now, woke is popular. The moment it's not, they are done. They're out. They will get out of it in a hot minute. And anybody who stays, they'll be done. You watch. You'll see it. You'll see the change, right? There'll be some moment where it's just like, okay, that's it. This is the new thing. And everybody starts going to that. And everybody starts trying to do it. And the other people who still are doing the old stuff will look even more cringe than they already look. They'll still be doing woke stuff. No, we have to do it this way because it was written 3 years ago and it was greenlit back then, and we have to do it the way it was written, and we're contractually obligated, and blah, blah, blah. And it'll be a nightmare. That's what... I don't think Avatar is going to be that, because I don't know if Avatar might be woke. I mean, it was kind of woke already. But certainly the Marvels movie, oh yeah, that's going to be super woke, and I think that's going to be probably a flop. Yeah, I don't think that's going to do very well. Quite frankly, I think Black Panther is done now. I think this is the last weekend. You know, it's going to be interesting next weekend to see if this really drops off, because it didn't do too bad this weekend because the drop off was only 31% when it's normally 50. So normally this would have been 30 million. So next week we'll see where it drops. Does it drop to 15 million, or does it drop to 20, or does it still stay up there? That would be the most shocking revelation of all, right? This stays up above 20, 25 million. That'll be a huge victory for them. Not to mention it'll be over 700 million. It'll probably be over 700 million by the time it gets to next week anyway. But, you know, this movie will peter out at some point. I'm not sure what else is coming out after. When's Avatar come out? Let's see. Am I going to be able to find this list? I never can find this list. Most anticipated movies. Let's see. I think Avatar does come out soon. Yeah, December 16th. So next weekend is the 3rd. What the hell comes out on the 3rd is the question. Let me get to IMDb. Movie releases. December 3rd. Here we go. Movie Insider. Dune? What? Oh, that's 2021, dude. What are you doing to me? Now I gotta type in the year. December 2022 movies. Okay. December 1st, I Heard the Bells. No. Hollywood Christmas. No. Neil Young Harvest Time. What the frig? Catfish Christmas. Mistletoe Ranch. What the hell is this? These are the best movies coming out in December? Are you kidding me? What a terrible list, Movie Insider. Find a different one. Movie Phone. Okay. A White Noise. Nah, that's not gonna... That might eat into the Fablemans. That might eat their lunch. Matilda's coming out. A lot of people want to see that. Avatar is the 16th, says JEC. Yes. Babylon. That's coming out. I don't know if that's going to do any good. The Whale. That's supposed to be good. I don't know how well it's going to do. The new Pinocchio movie from Del Toro, which looks pretty good. So, Boss Baby. Are you kidding me? Emancipation. Oscar bait. Christmas on the Slopes. I don't know. Oh, Violent Night's coming out next week. Violent Night might do okay. It is a Christmas movie, but it's also an action movie. I don't know. It's a weird movie. It's Santa Claus killing terrorists, basically. Angry Neighbors. Christmas with the Campbells. That looks stupid. Cloudy Christmas. Look at all these Christmas movies. Big Fat Family Christmas. Holy cow. Never seen so many Christmas movies coming out. Mountain Magic Christmas with Dolly Parton. Jesus. Holy crap. Now this is a pretty good list, I'll say. All kinds of High Heat's coming out. I saw the trailer for that. It don't look too bad, I guess. Mind Cage. Mind Cage is coming out with Martin Lawrence in a serious role. Black Queen. Violent Night may be okay. Yeah, it might be. JEC, kids might go to Violent Night. Probably won't do S, though. Yeah, maybe. It could be a sleeper. I don't know. So there's like a ton of... My God, the Christmas movies coming out this year. What, did they keep these for the last 3 years and just shelve them for now? Black Warrant. I saw the trailer for that. That didn't look too awful. I mean, it looked like a regular 90s action. But Tom Berenger is in it, and he looks really old. He is old, though. Christmas at Wolf Creek. Merry Textmas. Jesus. A New Orleans Noel. How many Christmas movies are being released this year? It's insane. the Dave Stevens documentary's coming out. That might be interesting for those of you who are into comics. Billy Crystal's out again. What? Mr. Saturday Night? That's an old movie. Four Samosas. I saw that trailer. Spider-Man Lego movie at the end of the year? December 31st, Spider-Man Lego movie. Well, that's definitely going to be big. Everybody loves Spider-Man. So that's about it. My God, the Christmas. Another Art of Christmas, Sappy Holidays, Christmas Bloody Christmas. I've never seen so many Christmas movies. Maybe this is just the website. A Royal Christmas Match. Oh, here's a Christmas movie with Bruce Willis, Detective Night Redemption. It's nuts. JC, I bet most of these are streaming and they're getting super limited releases. Yes, I would agree with that. In fact, I know that for sure on a lot of them. But still, it's got to eat into Catfish Christmas. What the F? Lizzo in concert. That is not a Christmas movie. So I think that's about it. Yeah. Jurassic Punk. That's a cool name. All right, that's about it. Now we're getting into some very obscure movies. Oh, is there another Ice Age movie? Delivery by Christmas. Black Queen, another Violent Night movie. Yeah, exactly. The Christmas Bloody Christmas. Jesus. Holy cow. All right. I think I'm done with this list. I'm done. All right. I'm gonna have to wrap here because we're coming on. Oh, it's 9 o'clock. Yeah, we gotta wrap. I got a few more videos to make, but that was a good stream. Thanks for coming out, everybody. Kanara movie. What is that? Kayara movie. Black Queen. What is that? Are you looking at something on the screen? Yeah, any final thoughts? Now is the time. JC, I've dated girls who would watch nothing but random Christmas movies all through November and December. It didn't matter what it was on as long as it was Christmas. Yeah, I know girls who they just play Christmas music nonstop, and it's sort of maddening after a few days. Like, can you stop playing this damn music? Oh, it's Christmas. Yeah. It doesn't have to be Christmas every second of my life. Like, yeah, I'm not seeing it. Jerusalem. I'll take your word for it. I must have missed it. Pretty Boy. There's all kinds of weird movies on here. The Witches of the Sands. Ooh, that sounds like my kind of movie. Thank you, Black Queen. Sorry, I'm falling asleep here. I also have to go to the bathroom really, really bad. Flaming Donut. Cheers, Tony. Enjoyed the stream. I've subbed, so I will catch you again. I'll catch you on Lotuses tomorrow. Catch you then. Thanks for tuning in, Flaming Donut. Cheers and bye, everyone. Goodbye, Flaming Donut. Good avatar name. I like that name. Yeah, so next up, live stream next week. We're looking good for that. I will be at the Cherry Hill Library at 7 p.m. tomorrow if you're in the southern New Jersey area. That could be a big day for me. I'm not sure. Also, that Jeremy pimped my books might get a bunch of sales. Black Queen, see you and peace out. Peace out. Nice stream. Thank you. Thanks for coming by. Thank you, JEC, as always. Bleach Demon. Thank you. A great stream. High praise. Thank you, Bleach Demon. Yeah, so Joan probably has to get off the seat. She doesn't like it when I trap her up there. She doesn't like to jump down. And she fell down, and that was a scary day for Joan. Oh, poor Joan. That was your own fault, though. You adjusted your space on the seat. You adjusted your space and fell over. Now you stay nice and still. All right. I am out.